Stress has become one of the most common struggles in modern life. People wake up worried about money, relationships, health, work, family pressure, or the future. The heart feels heavy because the mind is constantly running from one fear to another. Yet many people do not realize that the root of stress is often spiritual before it becomes emotional. When Allah is forgotten, the heart slowly loses its anchor. A person may continue living normally on the outside, but internally they feel restless, empty, and overwhelmed. Allah created the human heart with a specific purpose: to know Him, worship Him, and rely upon Him. When that connection weakens, stress naturally increases because the soul is disconnected from the one who controls everything. Many people search for peace in temporary things. Some think wealth will remove stress. Others believe success, fame, relationships, or entertainment will finally make them feel calm. For a short time, these distractions may create temporary happiness, but eventually the worries return. This is because the heart was never designed to find complete peace in worldly things. Allah says in the Quran that hearts find rest in the remembrance of Allah. This means true tranquility is not found in having a perfect life. It is found in having a strong connection with the Creator of life. A person may own very little yet sleep peacefully because their trust is in Allah. Another person may have everything materially but still feel anxious every day because their heart is attached only to the dunya. Forgetting Allah does not always mean abandoning religion completely. Sometimes it happens slowly. A person becomes so busy chasing goals that salah becomes rushed. Quran is rarely opened. Dhikr disappears from daily life. Dua becomes limited to moments of desperation. The heart then becomes spiritually weak without realizing it. Just as the body becomes weak without food, the soul becomes weak without remembrance of Allah. When spiritual weakness grows, even small problems begin to feel unbearable. A delayed message causes anxiety. A financial issue creates panic. One criticism ruins the entire day. The heart loses stability because it no longer depends fully on Allah. Modern society constantly teaches people to rely only on themselves. People are told they must control every outcome, plan every detail, and secure every aspect of their future. This creates enormous pressure because human beings were never meant to carry the weight of the entire world on their shoulders. Only Allah has complete control. When a person forgets this reality, they begin fighting battles emotionally that were never theirs to carry alone. They become exhausted trying to manage every uncertainty of life. Tawakkul disappears and stress replaces it. One of the biggest causes of stress is attachment to dunya. When worldly success becomes the center of life, every gain and loss feels extreme. If something goes wrong, the heart collapses because its happiness depended entirely on temporary things. But when Allah becomes the priority, perspective changes. The dunya is no longer the ultimate goal. It becomes a temporary journey toward Allah. Problems still exist, but they no longer destroy the soul because the believer understands that this life was never meant to be perfect. Sometimes Allah allows stress to wake a person spiritually. A hardship may push someone back toward prayer after years of distance. Anxiety may force someone to raise their hands sincerely in dua for the first time in a long while. A painful situation may remind a person that no human being can truly save them except Allah. In this way, even stress can become a mercy if it reconnects the heart to its Creator. The believer begins to realize that peace was never missing because life lacked comfort. Peace was missing because Allah was missing from the center of the heart. Even painful moments gain purpose because the believer trusts Allah's wisdom. A person who puts Allah first understands that risk comes from Allah, not from human beings alone. This removes enormous financial anxiety. Effort is still necessary, but panic decreases because the heart knows sustenance was written before birth. What Allah has decreed will reach you, and what was never meant for you can never be forced through endless stress. This belief creates balance between working hard and trusting Allah. Relationships also improve when Allah comes first. Many emotional wounds happen because people expect from humans what only Allah can perfectly provide. Human beings disappoint, change, and make mistakes, but Allah never abandons His servants. When the heart depends primarily on Allah, relationships become healthier because they are no longer based on unhealthy emotional dependence. Putting Allah first protects the heart from becoming lost in dunya distractions. The modern world constantly demands attention through entertainment, trends, social media, and endless consumption. A believer who prioritizes Allah learns to guard the heart carefully. They become selective about what influences their soul because they understand that everything entering the heart affects inner peace. Tawakkul becomes stronger when Allah is first. Tawakkul does not mean abandoning effort. It means doing your best while knowing the outcome belongs entirely to Allah. This balance removes crippling anxiety. The believer works hard but does not become emotionally destroyed by results because they trust Allah's decree. Success no longer creates arrogance, and failure no longer creates hopelessness. When Allah is first, gratitude increases naturally. Even during hardship, the believer notices blessings others ignore. The ability to pray, breathe, eat, repent, and hope becomes meaningful. Gratitude shifts focus away from what is missing toward what Allah has already provided. This mindset protects the heart from constant negativity. One of the most beautiful effects of putting Allah first is emotional alignment. The heart, mind, and soul begin moving in the same direction. Internal conflict decreases because life gains clarity and purpose. The believer stops chasing every worldly distraction and begins living intentionally for Allah. This creates a sense of stability that remains even during difficult times. Putting Allah first does not mean life suddenly becomes free from pain. Believers still face loss, disappointment, and hardship. But the difference is that they no longer face these struggles alone. Their hearts are connected to the one who controls every outcome. They know Allah hears every dua, sees every tear, and understands every hidden fear. This certainty creates peace even before situations improve. A heart connected to Allah becomes resilient. Storms may shake it, but they cannot completely break it. The believer may feel sadness, but not despair. They may experience stress, but not hopelessness. This strength comes from knowing that Allah is always near, always merciful, and always in control of every detail of life. One of the greatest sources of stress in human life is the illusion of control. People naturally want certainty. They want every plan to succeed, every relationship to remain stable, every financial situation to stay secure, and every future outcome to unfold exactly as expected. The human mind constantly searches for ways to predict and manage life so that nothing painful or unexpected happens. But life was never created to be fully controlled by human beings. Allah alone is Al-Mudabbir, the one who manages all affairs. The moment people forget this reality, stress begins to consume the heart because they start carrying responsibilities that only belong to Allah. The illusion of control makes people believe they can guarantee outcomes through endless planning and worry. A person may spend hours overthinking conversations, fearing future problems, or trying to prepare for every possible scenario. Yet, no matter how carefully someone plans, life still unfolds according to Allah's decree. This truth can either create frustration or peace depending on whether a person accepts it with faith. Those who resist this reality often become emotionally exhausted because they are fighting against something far bigger than themselves. Modern society encourages the idea that people must control everything to feel secure. Productivity culture glorifies constant hustle, pressure, and perfectionism. People are told they must always stay ahead, avoid mistakes, and achieve more than others. While hard work is valuable, many people become trapped in the belief that success depends entirely on their own power. This mindset creates constant fear because human beings are limited. No matter how intelligent or hardworking someone is, they cannot fully control health, opportunities, timing, or the hearts of people. The illusion of control also affects relationships deeply. Many people become stressed trying to control how others behave, think, or feel. They want everyone to understand them perfectly, appreciate them fully, or remain loyal forever. But human hearts are in the control of Allah alone. Trying to control people emotionally often leads to disappointment, frustration, and anxiety. A believer learns that guidance, love, and change ultimately come from Allah. This understanding allows the heart to let go of unhealthy emotional pressure. Financial stress is another area where the illusion of control becomes obvious. People fear losing income, missing opportunities, or facing uncertainty about the future. They may begin believing their entire security depends only on their career, business, or savings. Islam teaches balance. Effort is necessary, but sustenance comes from Allah. A person may work extremely hard and still face difficulties, while another receives unexpected blessings through Allah's mercy. Realizing this frees the heart from constant panic, because the believer understands that rizq was already written before birth. Many people think worry itself gives them control. They assume that if they keep thinking about a problem long enough, they can prevent bad outcomes. In reality, excessive worry often weakens the mind and steals peace without changing the decree of Allah. The Prophet Muhammad literally was to take practical steps while relying upon Allah. Islam does not encourage laziness, but it also does not encourage obsession over things outside human control. There is a difference between responsibility and emotional slavery to outcomes. The illusion of control becomes especially painful during unexpected hardships. A sudden illness, financial loss, betrayal, or tragedy reminds people how fragile human control truly is. These moments can either break a person spiritually or awaken them. Many believers grow closer to Allah after realizing how little control they actually possess. They begin understanding that true peace was never meant to come from controlling life, but from trusting the one who controls life completely. Children provide a simple example of this reality. A small child feels calm, not because they understand every danger around them, but because they trust their parents to protect them. Similarly, the believer finds peace by trusting Allah. Human beings do not need to know every detail of the future to feel secure. They simply need certainty that Allah's wisdom and mercy are greater than their understanding. The Quran repeatedly reminds believers that Allah is in control of all affairs. Nothing happens outside His knowledge. Every blessing, delay, hardship, and opportunity occurs by His permission. This belief does not remove effort from life, rather it removes arrogance and crippling fear. The believer works hard while understanding that ultimate outcomes belong to Allah alone. Sometimes Allah withholds things people desperately want because He sees what they cannot. A person may feel devastated after losing an opportunity only to later realize that Allah protected them from harm they never knew existed. Human beings often judge situations based only on immediate emotions, while Allah sees the entire picture. Accepting this truth softens the pain of uncertainty, because the believer understands that Allah's wisdom is perfect, even when life feels confusing. Social media has intensified the illusion of control in modern times. People constantly try to control how others perceive them. They carefully manage images, appearances, and lifestyles to gain validation. This creates emotional exhaustion because the heart becomes dependent on public approval. A believer who understands Allah's control becomes less obsessed with people's opinions. Pleasing Allah becomes more important than maintaining a perfect image before society. Fear of the future is another major symptom of this illusion. People stress over events that have not even happened yet. They imagine worst-case scenarios repeatedly until anxiety takes over their daily lives. Islam teaches believers to live with trust instead of constant fear. The future belongs to Allah. Worrying endlessly about tomorrow does not improve tomorrow. It only steals peace from today. One of the greatest acts of emotional freedom, financial anxiety decreases greatly through Tawakkul. The believer still works hard and seeks halal income, but panic reduces because they trust Allah as Ar-Razak, the provider. Risk is not controlled solely by markets, employers, or economies. Allah can open doors in unimaginable ways. This belief protects the heart from constant fear over sustenance. Tawakkul also brings courage. Many people avoid opportunities or remain trapped in fear because they are terrified of failure or rejection. But a believer who trusts Allah becomes braver because they know outcomes are already in Allah's hands. They stop allowing fear to completely control their decisions. This does not mean acting recklessly, but it means moving forward with faith instead of paralysis. The stories of the prophets beautifully demonstrate Tawakkul. Prophet Ibrahim, Arabic clam, Arabicate, Arabica, Arabicalum, Arabicalif, Arabiclam, Arabic scene, Arabiclam, Arabicalim was thrown into the fire, yet trusted Allah completely. Prophet Musa, Arabicine, Arabiclam, Arabicate, Arabicam, Arabic scene, Arabiclam, Arabic scene, Arabiclam, Arabiclinim stood before the sea with an army behind him, yet he said with certainty that Allah was with him. Prophet Muhammad later trusted Allah during persecution, migration, and battles, despite enormous challenges. Their reliance on Allah gave them strength greater than worldly fear. Tawakkul does not eliminate sadness or pain. Even prophets experience, but reliance on Allah prevents pain from becoming hopelessness. The believer cries while still trusting Allah. They feel fear while continuing to rely upon Him. They experience uncertainty while believing that Allah's plan is always better than human understanding. One of the signs of true tawakkul is consistency in worship during hardship. When difficulties come, the believer turns more toward Allah instead of away from Him. Salah becomes stronger. Dua becomes more sincere. The heart seeks comfort in remembrance of Allah rather than drowning completely in worldly distractions. Dua itself is an act of tawakkul because it reflects dependence on Allah. When believers raise their hands in supplication, they acknowledge that only Allah can truly change circumstances. This humility strengthens the heart spiritually. A person who makes sincere dua regularly develops deeper emotional connection with Allah and greater trust in His mercy. Tawakkul also teaches patience. Sometimes Allah answers prayers immediately, while other times He delays them for wisdom beyond human understanding. The believer continues trusting Allah even during waiting periods. This patience is not passive suffering. It is hopeful endurance rooted in faith. When tawakkul becomes strong, stress loses much of its power. The believer no longer feels alone against the world. They understand that Allah controls every outcome with perfect wisdom and mercy. This certainty creates a calmness that worldly solutions alone cannot provide. Even in difficult times, the heart remains anchored because it knows Allah is sufficient for every fear, every need, and every struggle. Salah is one of the greatest gifts Allah gave to believers because it reconnects the heart to its Creator multiple times every day. In a world filled with noise, pressure, distractions, and stress, prayer becomes a spiritual refuge where the soul finds calmness and direction again. Many people see Salah only as an obligation, but its deeper purpose is much greater. Salah is not merely physical movement or recitation. It is a direct meeting between the servant and Allah. It is a moment where worldly pressure fades and the heart remembers who truly controls all affairs. Human beings naturally become overwhelmed when they carry life's burdens alone. Worries about the future, relationships, finances, health, and personal struggles slowly exhaust the mind. Without spiritual relief, stress accumulates inside the heart until even small problems begin feeling unbearable. Allah, in His mercy, placed Salah throughout the day so believers would never remain disconnected from Him for too long. Every prayer is an opportunity to release emotional heaviness and return to spiritual balance. When a believer stands for Salah sincerely, they step away from the chaos of dunya and enter a secret conversation with Allah. Takbir at the beginning of prayer symbolizes leaving worldly concerns behind temporarily and focusing completely on the Creator. This shift alone brings emotional relief because it reminds the heart that Allah is greater than every problem causing stress. Many anxieties grow because people magnify their difficulties while forgetting the greatness of Allah. Salah restores proper perspective. Reciting Quran during prayer has a powerful effect on the heart. Allah's words carry healing, guidance, and mercy. Even when a believer does not fully understand every meaning, the soul still feels tranquility through recitation. The Quran was never meant to be merely read intellectually. It was meant to heal hearts spiritually. Regular Salah surrounds daily life with Quranic reminders, protecting the believer from drowning completely in worldly stress. Sujud is one of the most emotionally powerful moments in Salah. When a believer places their forehead on the ground, they are physically expressing humility before Allah. No. In that moment, status, wealth, pride, and worldly pressure disappear. The servant becomes closest to Allah while in sujud. Many believers experience deep emotional release during prostration because the heart feels safe enough to surrender hidden pain to Allah. Tears often come naturally in sincere sujud, because the soul recognizes it is before the one who understands every fear, and struggle completely. Salah teaches discipline and emotional stability. Modern life often feels chaotic because people live without spiritual structure. Prayer organizes the believer's day around remembrance of Allah rather than around endless worldly distraction. Instead of becoming consumed entirely by work, entertainment, or social pressure, the believer repeatedly returns to Allah throughout the day. This creates balance and prevents the heart from becoming spiritually lost. One reason Salah reduces stress is because it strengthens Tawakkul. During prayer, believers constantly remember Allah's power, mercy, and wisdom. This remembrance weakens fear and strengthens trust. A person who prays consistently begins realizing they are not alone in facing life's difficulties. Allah hears every recitation, every whisper, every silent tear, and every hidden worry. This awareness creates comfort even before circumstances improve. Unfortunately, many people rush through Salah without presence of heart. They pray quickly while their minds remain distracted by worldly concerns. As a result, they do not fully experience the peace prayer can provide. Khushu, or deep focus and humility in Salah, transforms prayer into spiritual nourishment. When the heart becomes fully engaged, Salah changes from routine worship into emotional healing. The Prophet Muhammad would turn to prayer during moments of difficulty. This teaches believers an important lesson. Salah is not something to abandon during stress. It is something to run toward during stress. Many people make the mistake of neglecting prayer when overwhelmed, thinking they are too busy or emotionally exhausted. In reality, distancing from Salah often increases emotional heaviness because the soul loses its source of strength. Fajr prayer has a unique effect on the heart. Beginning the day with remembrance of Allah creates spiritual clarity before worldly distractions take over. A believer who wakes for Fajr experiences a special calmness because they prioritize Allah before the dunya. This early connection with Allah strengthens the heart against stress throughout the day. Tahajjud prayer is another powerful source of peace. During the quietness of the night, distractions disappear and sincerity deepens. The Prophet Muhammad himself worked and encouraged productivity. However, effort must be balanced with trust in Allah. The believer works without becoming emotionally enslaved to outcomes. They understand that no amount of panic can increase what Allah did not decree, and no obstacle can prevent what Allah already wrote for them. Many people destroy their peace chasing wealth beyond necessity. Society constantly teaches that happiness depends on earning more, owning more, and competing endlessly with others. This creates exhausting pressure because desires never truly end. A believer who trusts Allah's decree learns contentment. They still pursue goals and improvement, but their happiness no longer depends entirely on worldly accumulation. Comparison is one of the greatest enemies of contentment regarding risk. Social media exposes people constantly to others' lifestyles, achievements, and possessions. People begin questioning why others seem more successful or financially comfortable. But risk is not measured only through money. Health, peace, faith, family, safety, guidance, and barakah are all forms of provision from Allah. Someone may possess wealth yet live without peace, while another person with less money may experience deep contentment and happiness. Sometimes Allah withholds certain forms of risk as protection. A person may desperately want a specific job, business opportunity, or financial gain, unaware that it would harm their faith or emotional well-being. Human beings judge provision based only on immediate desires, while Allah sees long-term consequences perfectly. This understanding helps believers trust Allah, even when financial matters do not unfold according to personal plans. Barakah is another essential concept connected to risk. Two people may earn the same amount of money, yet one experiences constant stress while the other lives peacefully with gratitude. Barakah is the blessing Allah places within provision. Halal earnings, gratitude, charity, and obedience to Allah increase barakah in life. Wealth without barakah often brings anxiety rather than peace. Fear of the future causes many people to live in constant financial stress. They obsess over what-if scenarios and spend years anxious about possibilities that may never happen. Islam teaches believers to plan responsibly without becoming consumed by fear. Tomorrow belongs to Allah. Just as He provided in the past, He is fully capable of providing in the future. Charity strengthens trust in Allah profoundly. From a worldly perspective, giving away money seems like loss. But Islam teaches that sadaqah increases blessings and provision. Charity trains the heart to rely on Allah rather than becoming attached solely to material wealth. It purifies the soul from greed and fear. One of the most beautiful aspects of trusting Allah regarding risk is emotional freedom. The believer no longer needs to compromise faith for worldly gain. They understand that disobedience cannot bring true benefit because provision comes from Allah, not from a haram means. This belief protects dignity and strengthens moral character. Believers also learn that delayed provision is not rejection. Sometimes Allah delays certain blessings to teach patience, strengthen faith, or prepare the believer for something better. Waiting periods often contain spiritual growth hidden beneath difficulty. Trusting Allah during these moments deepens reliance upon Him. The heart finds peace when it realizes that human beings do not own their sustenance. They merely receive what Allah decreed. This understanding removes arrogance during abundance and despair during hardship. The believer remains balanced because they know every provision comes from Allah's wisdom and mercy.